So hi, my friends. Not much going on this Monday. Just had a very kind of a quiet weekend. I did go out Saturday night to be with some friends, socialize, or be more support for a friend of mine at a function that they hold for the deaf community, and had a chance to be with some young Girl Scouts in Valencia, who I guess one of the den mothers uh, had surgery on her throat. She lost her ability to speak. I'm pretty sure it's temporary. But anyway, her daughter decided to learn some sign language and help her mom. And one thing led to another, and the whole troop, starting to learn sign language, and decided to make it, to where they would earn like a little badge for their efforts and so forth. So I thought that was really cool. So I was going around helping the girls with their sign language and talking to other people and that sort of thing. So so that was kind of fun, and nice to see a bunch of eager, kids learning and becoming more deaf friendly in doing so. So anyway, where we stopped is I'm at the Swedenborg sampler, page 12, talking about heaven and hell. Very good book. It has a lot of things in there spiritually that you can get down to and understand. So I just want to just start reading before I run out of time here. Did a couple songs. You can check those out. I did another second rendition of Sonny Came Home. I think it's a little bit better. I goof a little bit in the song, but the playing is a little bit better. And that's what I was really concentrating on anyway. It's not as easy as it may look, to be able to play and sing properly. It's harder than it looks. I might make it look easy perhaps sometimes, but it is a challenge. But happy to do so because I love singing. All right, and playing the guitar. I really love playing the guitar. All right, so trying to think. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the second paragraph here. Okay, so Swedenborg talks about correspondences from heaven and to earth, and the world of spirits and what belongs to heaven. So he's talking about, he's mentioned these things so that our correspondence with heaven and with hell may be known. That while our rational mind is in the process of being formed, it is responsive to the world of spirits. What is above it belongs to heaven. What is beneath it belongs to hell. The higher things open, the lower closes against the inflow of evil and falsity for people who are being readied for heaven, while the lower things open and the higher close against the inflow of goodness and truth. See how he puts those two words together, goodness and truth, for people who are being readied for hell. As a result, the latter can only look downward towards hell, and the former can only look upward towards heaven. Looking upward is looking towards the Lord, because he is the common center that everything in heaven faces. Looking downward, though, is looking away from the Lord towards the opposite center, the center toward which everything in hell faces and gravitates. In the preceding pages, it's talking about spirits. It means that people in the world of spirits, while angels meant people in heaven, okay? So each of us is inwardly a spirit. Anyone who thinks things through carefully can see that it is not the body that thinks, because the body is material, okay? Rather, it is the soul, because the soul is spiritual, the human soul, whose immortality has been the topic of many authors. It is our spirit. It is, in fact, immortal in all respects and is also what does the thinking in our bodies. This is because it is spiritual, and the spiritual is open to the spiritual and lives spiritually through thought and intention. So there's the two, thought and intention. So all the rational life can observe in our bodies belong to the soul, none of it to the body. Actually, the body is just material, as noted. And the matter that is proper to the body is an addendum and almost an attachment to the spirit. Its purpose is to enable our spirit to lead its life and perform its services in a natural world that is material in all respects and essentially lifeless. Since matter is not alive, only spirit is alive, we may conclude that whatever is alive in us is our spirit, and the body only serves it exactly the way a tool serves a life and activating force. We may, of course, say that a tool works or moves or strikes, but it is a mistake to believe that it is a property of the tool and not the person who is wielding it. Since everything that is alive in the body, everything that acts and feels because of life, belongs to the spirit alone, and none of it belongs to the body, it follows that the spirit is the actual person. In other words, we are essentially spirits and have much the same form as well. You see, everything that is alive and sensitive within us belongs to our spirit. There is nothing in us from head to toe that is not alive and sensitive. This is why when our bodies are separated from our spirits, which is called dying, we still continue to be human and to be alive. I heard from heaven that some people who die while they are lying on the slab before they have been revived or resurrected, are still thinking in their cold bodies and cannot help but feel that they are alive, but with the difference that they cannot move a single part of the matter that makes up their bodies. We could not think or intend if there was no agent, no substance, as the source and focal point of thought and intent. Anything we may imagine happening apart from a substantial agent is nothing. We can tell this from the fact that we could not see without an organ serving as the agent of our sight, or hear without the organ as the agent of our hearing. Apart from these, the sight and hearing would be nothing, would not exist. The same holds true for the thought, which is the inner sight, for the intention, which is the inner hearing. Unless these happen in and form the agents that are organic forms as subject, they would not happen at all. We may gather that this is that our spirit is also in a form that is in a human form, that it enjoys sensory organs, senses it when it separates from the body, just as it did when it was in it. We may gather that all the eye's life, the ear's life, the fact of our sensory life belongs not to the body, but to the spirit that is in the functions and even in their least details. This is why the spirit sees and hears and feels just as much as we do. Though after we have left the body, this does not happen in the natural world, but in the spiritual one. And the reason that the spirit was sensitive on the natural level when it was in the body is that it worked through the material part that was appended to it. However, it was still spiritually sensitive in its thinking and intending. I presented this to convince rational people that, seen in our own right, we are spirit, the physical nature appended to us that we can function in the natural material world is not the real person, but the tool of our spirit. But some supporting instances from experience would be better, because rational arguments are beyond many people, and the ones that have convinced themselves of opposite opinions make these arguments grounds for their skepticism by arguing on the basis of sensory illusions. People who have convinced themselves of an opposite opinion tend to think that animals live and sense just the way we do, so that they too have a spiritual nature like ours, yet this dies along with their bodies. However, the spiritual nature of animals is not the same as ours. We have an innermost nature that animals do not, a nature unto which the divine flows and which is raises towards itself, in this way uniting us to itself. Let me read that again. A nature into which the divine God flows and which it raises towards itself, in this way uniting us to itself, so that we, unlike animals, can think about God, about divine matters of heaven and church. We can love God because of these matters, and by engaging with them can so be united to Him. Anything that can be united to the divine cannot be destroyed. Anything that cannot be united to the divine does be united to the divine through does disintegrate. In above, I discuss the innermost that we have and animals do not. The reason for mentioning it here again is important to dispel the illusion that many people get from believing animals are just like humans. People who cannot draw rational conclusions about these subjects because they lack information or because their intellect is not open. What I said there was as follows. I would like to disclose a particular secret about the angels of the three heavens that people have not been aware of until now, because they've not understood the levels discussed in number 38 above. And he numbers his chapters, but with numbers. Okay. It is this, that within every angel, within every one of us here, there is a central or highest level, or a central and highest something, where the Lord's divine life flows in first and most intimately. It is from the center that the Lord arranges the other, relatively internal aspects within us that follow in sequence according to the levels of the overall design. The central or highest level can be called the Lord's gateway to angels, or to us, His essential dwelling within us. I'm going to stop there. I think that's a good place to stop. Isn't that cool? So anyway, this is a Swedenborg sampler, and this is stopped at 15 in case I need to remember where I'm at. So let me know what you're thinking, and if you like this, and I can continue reading from the sampler. It gives you kind of a good overview of his different books and writings and so forth. I think it's a good place to start, and it's what the Swedenborg Foundation suggests. So anyway, that's what's going on. As far as news is concerned, I mean, I'm not really pleased with how Trump just kind of speaks without thinking sometimes, without getting all the facts. But I do know that he's, facing a lot of evil, and he's trying to do his best. And as people who are believers in the Lord, we need to, pray for these leaders who are in these positions of influence over us, and that they, do the right thing for all of us. Whether, we Republican, Democrat, Green Party, whatever, okay, or independent. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful, blessed week. I spoke to my brother John. If you would still keep him in prayer, he's struggling. It's really difficult for him. Each day is a challenge, and so he's going to really need extra prayer. All right, take care. Love you guys. Bye.